So I'm not going to do today. I'm going to share the video and say hi.
Oh, hi, how are you?
Hi.
Hi.
So I'm also going to share my website as well. So I'm there with my cup of tea, all good. So, okay, let's begin. So I like to record these sessions. My name is Sue, and really what I'm looking at doing is helping people to ultimately get companies or clients chasing them. Today's session is all about understanding your USP, which is your unique selling point, and why that's important in order to get clients chasing you, okay? And so like I'm kind of saying the same thing but in a different way, but I think it's really important because what we're actually trying to do is work out your story or your narrative, and this is important because ultimately it helps you, it helps the people that can hire you employ you in a simple way. Yeah, they see, okay, if I'm this business consultant, somebody just wants to pop in. Her name's Deborah, so we will let her in. I told you this would happen. Hi, Deborah. Hopefully you can hear me. Well, anyway, so what today's session is all about is understanding your USP, your unique selling point, and why that matters if you want to ultimately get companies or clients chasing you.
Right.
So the things that you need to be thinking about, and just letting another person in, is you need to kind of go, okay, firstly, you need to be working out your audience, but you also need to be realistic, right? And I'm going to be very, very blunt in terms of my own experience of when I was working as a careers advisor for young people, okay? So what I quickly learned is that the labour market information basically was telling me, actually, this job is just going to go down, 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 because the funding for my role just wasn't there, okay? And that's really important because when you start looking at any particular career or any job that you're doing, you've got to make sure that when I talk about labour market information, I'm very much talking about, does that job exist? Yeah, the job that I want to do, does it exist? And the bit that I can't help people with, because I'm very, very honest, because I'm not, I don't focus on career transition or career change. But if that's something that you think, okay, I need to be doing something like this, I need to be kind of working out, okay, I want to change careers, or I want to go into a market where, you know, where I know that jobs exists, then sometimes it's actually very good to actually speak to a careers advisor that actually deals with that change element if you're looking to move out. If you're staying within your remit, or you're not kind of going too far away from, you know, the career that you're wanting to do, then it doesn't matter as greatly. So if it's a similar skill set and it's not too far away from the realms of possibility, so again, using me as a prime example, I realized that my own career, you know, what I was doing when I was working with young people, the market was no longer there. So I had this decision that I needed to make to either stay in that market and say, okay, I accept that the pay for this job is going to be very low now. Yeah. Or I reinvent myself and I go and find a job that will pay me better. Right. So I didn't really, all I did is I kind of just switched my audience. So I said, okay, I don't want to deal with young people anymore because there isn't the funding available for people to pay me for that role. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus maybe more on director level people that may have the funding to actually pay. Okay, so the reason why I say this is that it's important to understand, okay, if I'm going into a job market, do those jobs exist? Okay, once you know that those jobs exist in that market, then it's about understanding your USP, and your USP is your unique selling point, and why that ultimately matters to the people who can hire you. So the mistake that most people make is they talk about themselves, and actually it's nothing to do about you, it's everything to do about them. Okay, so if you're thinking about it from the consultant type of work, you know, because you mentioned consultant, for example, and you mentioned small, medium-sized businesses, then it needs to be focused on what their needs are, rather than, in a way, in talking just all about what you've done. Okay, so it's about picking out from your own career history, or you know, what really matters. It's not about putting the kitchen sink in it, if that makes sense. And sometimes, let me be very honest with you, you know, if you find you're struggling with this, sometimes it's actually might be worthwhile speaking to somebody to help you go and make that happen. Okay, so in the UK, is anybody in the UK at the moment?
Come again?
Is anybody in the UK? I know Ian, you're in the UK.
Yes.
Okay, and I don't know, sorry, is Liz, are you in the UK?
No, I'm actually in the States. I'm down in Florida.
Okay, so the reason why I was asking is, dependent on the country that you're in, there could be free careers advice. So I know, for example, and this is me just being very honest, you could look at the National Career Service. Okay, so the National Career Service can actually help people to create a CV, resume, or, you know, for example, if you have recently you know, graduated, for example, yeah, then your university, and it can be, you know, after you've left, maybe 2 years, then they could actually maybe able to help you as well. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is that, and this is me being very, maybe too honest, that sometimes looking out for different things could actually help you to move forward. Okay, well, what I've found, if I'm being very honest with you, is that the way people create CVs or LinkedIn profiles, sometimes I don't think it's 100% fit for purpose. So I think that, if I'm very honest with you, I think that, you know, if you're of an age, which, by the way, Liz, you look like you are, that, you know, I don't know, have you been to university or anything? Give us, if you're okay, Sharon, tell me your story. If you
So I actually graduated in December 2018. So I've been out, and I got a job right out of school, so super lucky.
Wow, that's fantastic.
But a week ago, I was just laid off. So I'm trying to kind of reinvest and get back out there. I know I'm younger than a lot of the more experienced people out there that I'm competing with. So just trying to be competitive.
You know what? You all say the same thing. So the young people say I'm not older, and the older people say I'm not younger. It's true, that, by the way. But have you thought about actually going back to your university, and did they offer much careers advice when you were there? Was it useful?
No, not any university I've had experience with the career sector kind of helping you reach out. They don't really do that, as far as I've
people check, because they should be. So you could, for example, look at the likes of, so if I was you, I would look and find out, is there a careers department in my university? Find out what services they offer, because they should be helping you when it's not too long ago. You just need to see if they're willing to help, okay? Because they might be like 2 years since, that you've graduated, that they're still prepared to do something for you. Another option with the university is every university has an alumni. So, you know.
Yeah, I'm a part of that alumni page. And I definitely have contacts through that, but everyone that I graduated with went in a completely different direction, career-wise. So
what I'm saying to you is that there will be alumni from your university, not of your age, but older, that might be able to help you.
Oh, that's a good point. It's just, how would I initially reach out to them without it being
I
kind
think
of a
the first thing that you need to do is reach out maybe to your university and just say, you know, this is, you know, I did this subject, this is particularly what I'm interested in. Can you maybe help me to identify maybe 10 people in my local area that I can speak to?
Yeah, no, I'll definitely reach out to them. Right now, I've just been taking online courses in various subjects, so.
That's really good. I mean, I can see that you're very committed because you come onto these calls. What you know, you may want to be kind of like working out, okay, if you identified 10 people in, you know, that are older than you, that are, you know, that are in the remit that you want to work in, then, you know, your first thing could be, you know, okay, you've got some kind of traction or some kind of way to say, hey, you know, you and I went to the same place together. You know, I'd love to find out more about how you excelled in your career. You know, it could be that you just initially find out more about how they found themselves in the job that they're doing and start building key relationships, because they could be, you know, that could be your future boss potentially. Yeah, please start.
Yeah.
So that could definitely be one avenue. However, the older that you get, okay, those so you know, those opportunities are not going to be, you know, relevant. And again, this is where, you know, how can I put it? Okay, so even the National Careers Service, and I'm not trying to be rude, they do a fantastic job, but at the same time, the CVs that they're producing are going to be standardised to whether you're, I don't know, 17-year-old to whether you're a 40-year-old. Yeah, they're going to have the same format and everything the same. So the higher up that you are up, you know, you travel up that corporate ladder, then I would say that's, I'm just sorry, I'm just letting somebody in, so I'm just going to stop speaking. Right, so the higher you are up that corporate ladder, the reality is the more thought and attention, and the more that you might need to think about, okay, looking at, okay, investing in something. And I'm not saying it has to be me. I mean, it'd be fantastic if it was, but you need to be kind of going, okay, you know, I need to be making sure that whatever I'm using, whether that's a CV, resume, LinkedIn profile, is the absolute best it can be. So I'll be honest with you, I think that, you know, the younger you are, you've got potentially more freer options available to you. Yeah. So you might want to look at, okay, you know, doing some Google research and finding out, is there anything, you know, that could help me to create a well thought out CV. Actually, Liz, I've actually got something. You can actually look at. I've got a book on Amazon, which is it's called the Graduate CV. I'll see if I can find it. That could be a good option for you because it goes through a process. Yeah. Of, okay, this is how you should check out, you know, your story. Okay. So that could be good for you, but as I was saying, for somebody that's higher level, I really think that you need to look at, okay, taking this a step further, because I'm just going to be very honest with you. What I find, because I've worked with young people and I've moved into working with like director level, you know, in my opinion, there's not actually much difference. And I know that sounds harsh, but it's actually true. Yeah. And the good news is that everybody's the same. Everybody's CV or resume sounds very similar. Yeah. So it doesn't take much when you get somebody to look at it and kind of, okay, change it and take it to that higher level. So first things first, sure that whatever job that you want to go into, there is, you know, a market for that role. Step one. Step two is start thinking about, okay, that USP is a unique selling point, and ultimately you need to be thinking about, well, what is it that I offer as, you know, the job seeker that can actually solve some of the problems that this company has. And that's the way that you really need to be looking at it. Okay. And that to me is why people get hired. Yeah, there is no other reason than that. It's based on your USP. You get hired because a company has a problem. And if they don't have a problem, then they either don't hire you or they make you redundant. Yeah. So with Corona, what simply just happened is they've just said, okay, the reality is that, people have got to stay in. So, there isn't people on going out for meals, so there isn't the problem. Yeah. So we don't need chefs, we don't need cooks, we don't need waitresses. So you just need to be kind of going back to basics and going, okay, what is it? How do I solve those problems? And really trying to articulate this. And I call it it's your narrative. It's the things that you want to pick out and really emphasize why this ultimately matters to the companies that potentially want to hire you. So the good news is, back in the day, and I know the likes of Liz, you won't recognise this, but back in the day, we actually did send out, we'd used to apply for jobs via the post. So we'd see something, in a newspaper, and we would apply for that role. The great thing is, though, these days is that, we've got more technology, more opportunities, and this brings you also opportunities in itself, because you can have your LinkedIn profile, and the LinkedIn profile can be helping you to promote that narrative, that story that you want to tell people. Yeah, it doesn't have to be that, that I only am reactive, which reactive means is that, I apply for a job simply because it's been advertised. Yeah, your LinkedIn profile is kind of like your shop window, and it's telling people, hey, this is what I can do for you. And that's ultimately what you want to be thinking about. And so again, the USP is so important, because once you've nailed that, it's kind of the things that you would be putting into the CV and also into the LinkedIn profile as well. And if you've got, for example, an email signature, and this is a great tip for anybody, you want to be, your email signature should be having the words "connect with me" on LinkedIn, because ultimately you should be trying to drive people to your LinkedIn profile. And you are probably going to be using, I would imagine, I could be wrong, but you may be reaching out to employers, or if you're the likes of Liz might be reaching out to the university. And so if Liz is reaching out to the university, she wants to spend time on that LinkedIn profile, making it the best it can be. And then at the bottom of it, connect with me on LinkedIn. And again, if they forward that information to, for example, hey, would you like to get involved in speaking to a past alumni, to help her with her career, to mentor this lady, they can also check you out as well. But that process that I've just mentioned is applicable, if you're, senior level, and you are, sending out, you're reaching out to your own contacts, maybe your own connections via email, and you're saying, hey, I've got a, copy of my resume. This is the type of thing that I'm looking for. And again, you're drawing people to that LinkedIn profile. So the narrative in some senses needs to have some consistency. Yeah. So I think that's a good strategy that people want to be thinking about, is making sure that the if you can, yeah, that the LinkedIn profile is speaking the same language in some senses, in terms of this USP that you want to talk about. And again, the USP is literally, think about it in very simplistic terms, is the problems that you solve for a company. Yeah. You want to think of it in that terms. So as I said, I think that in these day and age, you can be more proactive. Back in the day, or even now, I think most people do a great job for a company. The main problem is that they're good within the four walls of this company. And you need to start thinking about being good outside those four walls. So that's what we really need to be thinking about. That narrative, that storytelling needs to be kind of translated outside of the four walls that you are in. Yeah, because it's no good, yeah, being great within a company and then this is what happens, isn't it? You know, the reality is okay, we're going to let you go now. Yeah. I mean, who could have imagined Corona? But the point is that these things do happen. Yeah. So, you know, this is about career management. What am I actually doing to get my name outside of those four walls? What am I doing to increase traction with people that I should actually be talking with? Yeah. And that's why I said to Liz, you in particular, you know, reaching out to alumni that are older than you. Yeah, it doesn't matter if you've gone into a different career remit. I'm sure your university's been going for many decades. Will be people there. You just need to. If the university doesn't help you, I'm sure that you could figure out how to do it on LinkedIn. Okay, so if people are wanting to ultimately build their brands, and they're wanting to get known outside of the four walls that they're currently in, then what you need to be thinking, and this can be quite discreet, by the way, but you need to be thinking about, okay, getting into more conversations with people. That's really what it's a numbers game. I'm sorry to say this, but it is ultimately a numbers game. But you need to be making sure at the same time that the foundations, the resume, the CV, whatever you want to call it, the LinkedIn profile, they need to be the best that they can be. Because if you find that you're constantly sending this stuff out and you're not getting a response back, then something is not correct. Okay, so you need to use brain power here. Yeah, not do the same thing. It's a sign of insanity. But if you think, okay, you know, I've had success with what I've used in the past, then by all means continue to use it. But then you need to be kind of looking at, okay, the reality is that most people in your situation, and there's a lot of people in your situation, yeah, there's a lot of people unemployed at the moment, then you need to be kind of saying to yourself, okay, there's going to be a lot of people in my boat, but there's also going to be a lot of people that are not going to do anything, yeah, because it's such a shock with what's happened. Yeah. And I think that the biggest advice that I can give you is saying to you is that, you know, it's the people that are kind of willing to keep each day, even if don't feel they're getting much traction, is basically just keep on going, is keep on and reaching out to people and keep on kind of like, you know, every single day do that. Just keep the consistency going, because it just takes one person to say yes. But go back, if you find that you're just not getting anywhere, then there is something wrong with what you've got. If you wanted to do it in more of a strategic way, particularly for if you're more high level, as I said, and you're looking for, you know, the jobs that you are going for, they're not available as often, you know, as some of the jobs, for example, yeah, because they pay a lot of money, or, you know, whatever, yeah, you know, like if you're after a director job, it only needs one director, it doesn't need 10. So that type of job is not going to be available, you know, advertised all the time. So I think that for those people, you're going to have to look at it in a completely different way. And you're going to have to really think, okay, what have I got? Is this good enough? If not, get it changed, get it improved. And you could utilize technology. So if I was, for example, running a LinkedIn campaign, and let me explain what that is. If I was running a LinkedIn campaign for a job seeker, okay, or somebody that is looking for clients, then a LinkedIn campaign is where we are looking at, you know, a number of things. Okay, so ultimately what we're trying to do is get into more conversations. In order to get into more conversations, we need to have the best profile. We need to be making sure that we create messages that hook people in. Okay, I will be very honest with you. Let's see. I created quite a clever message, and it was a clever message. Nice hook, Susan. Happy to connect. Okay, that was a message that I sent, and I think what I'm trying to say to people is that you need to be getting people's attention. Yeah, so that's what I do for people. We work out, okay, what is our best way that we can get people to say yes to connecting with you, and also because once people connect with you, you can message people on LinkedIn. Yeah, so we need to ultimately get people to connect. But you've got two audiences. You've already got your audience that you're already connected with, so they're what we call your first level connections. And then you've got, so we need to firstly identify out your first level connections that you're connected with on LinkedIn. Who is it that we should be connecting with, or not? We're already connected, so that's the wrong terminology. Who should we be messaging of those people? Yeah. The next question that we need to be working out is, who should we be connected with out of the people that can help me to get hired? Who is it that I should be reaching out to? Okay, so if you were looking, Liz, to help to find somebody to mentor you or to give you advice in or in the area that you want to work in, then you might be reaching out to some of the alumni, like I mentioned, okay, on LinkedIn for the university that you study, and trying to work out, okay, did they study this, are they doing the job that I want to do? Your first contact might be, looking at your own university and seeing if they can actually help you, because they should. Whether they do is another thing, but they should. But you need to be thinking about, okay, who is it? Who are my decision makers? Who are my end users? And when I talk about end users, I'm talking about potentially your future boss. Who is it that we should be thinking about connecting with? And for some of you, it could be recruiters. Okay, so that's just one example. And so we have then, so what we would have is that we'd have different messages to different people. A message to a recruiter would be very different from a message to, to an end user or a future boss. Yeah. Or our message would be very different from, a recruiter if we were contacting an alumni, for example. So we need to then create messages, and our messages are not really trying to be salesy. They're actually looking at, in some cases, how can we add value? How can we show that we know we're good at what we do? Again, that comes back to having a really decent profile, but we need to be thinking more like a salesperson. I think that's what I'm trying to say to you. You need to be ultimately proactive, and you need to start reaching out to people. Yeah, but in order to do that, you need to figure out, who is my audience? Who is it should I be targeting? And again, we help you to figure that out. We help you with the messaging, and we don't just do like a one-hit wonder. We are creating 3 messages, yeah, in order to drive some kind of response. So I think that's pretty important as well. And the ultimate goal of those messages is really just to start getting into more conversations. More conversations with key people help you, because they can lead to either that client or that potential job role. Okay, so the messaging is really just designed for one thing: to generate more conversations. So yes, you kind of need to be thinking about this as very much a sales activity, and the reality is that you're actually selling yourself. If I want to put it very bluntly, you are selling you. Whether you are after a full-time job or whether you are a freelancer, the reality, you are selling yourself, and you really need to kind of understand that, because that's ultimately what you're doing. And when you see it like this, yeah, then you understand, okay, what I'm putting out there does need to look the part. Yeah. And that's really how you want to be looking at this. And so we do the messaging campaign for you. We do loads of nice touches. So nice touches can be endorsing people that you're connected with. It could be that we wish people happy birthday, happy anniversary, blah, blah, blah. And again, the real issue that we're trying to drive home is really to just build relationships, to let people know that you exist, say, hey, look at me, this is what I'm doing now. And, is there any kind of win-win for us both in some way? And I think that's the more strategic route that you might want to be thinking about. And of course you can do old school. If you see a job, you apply for the job. Yeah, I'm not saying that you don't do old school, but it could be a case these days that you've got to be more strategic. There's a lot more competition now, and you've got to also be willing to kind of step up and reach out to more people. So they're the things that I would be saying, and that's where it all comes back to your USP. You ultimately only get hired if you learn nothing from today. You only really get hired because that person's got a problem and they want that solution that you can offer. And that needs to be your story. You need to think about the resume, the CV, the LinkedIn profile in that way. And then at that point, you need to think about reaching out. And of course, the normal job things that you would normally do, if you see a job advertised, yes, you should be doing that as well. Yeah. Any thoughts on what we've talked about? No, it's a little bit strange, but but I think, I just feel that when I was back when I was back living in Liverpool, and I moved to London, the reason why, if I'm very honest with you, I didn't know a soul in London, but the only reason why I got hired is because people knew who I was. Yeah, I didn't really realise that at the time, okay? But when I landed the job in London, okay, that's when I thought, okay, without realising, I'd actually started building my name, my brand, who I was. And that was simply because I was just spending time talking about career-related stuff. But the reality is, and I'm going to be very honest with everybody, is that, at that time, I had time, yeah? If you're director level, you don't have time, yeah? So that won't work for you because you've got a wife saying you need to be spending time with the kids, you need to be spending time with me, work is taking over, So you need to be looking at, okay, being realistic with yourself and saying, okay, can I do this? If I can, great. Yeah, if you've got the time to be able to put that into play. But if you don't, that's when you need to think about outsourcing this as a project to somebody else. Okay, so the great thing is, again, I think I mentioned this last week, is if somebody was interested in doing this, you get all the replies back in what's called a Google Sheet. So it's real time. It's not like we're sending, I don't know, a spreadsheet to you when it's, out of date because we sent it to you 2 days ago. It's updated in real time. All messages or replies to the campaign go in there. And the reason why it does need to be in there is because your LinkedIn inbox just becomes chaotic because there's too much things happening in it, and it's very hard to track. Any questions? I feel like I've talked people to death. Any thoughts? You can write it into the chat box if you don't want to speak out, or you can speak out.
I have a quick question. So when you're talking about messaging on LinkedIn, what exactly are you just saying thank you for connecting? Like, I saw that you did this, or like, what exactly do you want to put in that message?
Well, you've got to go to what you're trying to get. Yeah, so it comes back to knowing what your goal is. If your goal is to get a job, then you need to be going, okay, that's my goal, so it's related. So the things that I put in a message need to be related to that particular goal. If my goal is to find out, for example, alumni and see if they can help me with my career, then that's your message for those people. If you're looking at recruiters, then you can be incredibly blunt and you can go, I'm looking for this particular role, and I've attached my copy of my resume CV. I would clarify, are you the right person to speak to with regards to this? If not, can you let me know who is? Because you don't want to be kind of, you want them to come back and reply back to you, yeah? You want to know that if I send this message, you know, that, you know, for example, to a recruiter, and the goal is that, hey, my goal for recruiters is that I want them to take this CV off me, and they want them to contact me if they've got a particular job in this remit. Yeah. So the things that you might be saying to them, which you can be very blunt, is like, you know, I'm looking for a role in this area, you know, just wanted to double check, are you the right person? I would acknowledge the situation at the moment. Yeah. You want to try and, if you can, make it personal in terms of, you know, hope you keep it safe, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Because it's such a crazy time, but you want to be thinking, okay, what is my agenda for what I want to do? That's the best way that I would describe it as. So if I'm sending this message out to this person, ultimately, what's my ultimate goal? What is it that I'm trying to achieve? Does that help?
I know you said last week that when you're applying for a position and you know maybe who the hiring or the project manager, whoever you'd work for, to look them up on LinkedIn to show them that you're looking at them, but you wouldn't message them, correct?
Yeah, it's a kind of, it's right, you could, yeah, it depends on how you feel about it. Some people don't mind that. You could say, you and I, you know, that was if you've got an interview, yeah? So if you've got an interview, you could say, you know, thought it'd be nice to connect, and know that you and I are, you know, meeting up, you know, next week, you know, Friday at 10 o'clock for our interview or whatever, yeah, or my interview. You could just say that, yeah? So I would personalize the message. I don't feel that there's anything particularly wrong with that, yeah? So you could definitely do that, because you're looking, you're still wanting them to look at your profile, yeah? And they will see this invite from you, and it's up to them. They can either make the decision, okay, I connect with this person, or I don't connect with the person, but I don't think there's anything wrong with doing that. And you've been very upfront, yeah? But as long as, I think, if you connect with somebody that you're having an interview with, just acknowledge, make sure you personalize that message. And again, great point that you just made. If I connect with somebody, 99.9% of people who connect with somebody don't actually explain to that person why they are connecting. It's like going to somebody's front door, knocking on it, and then not saying anything when they open it. Okay? So you have got to see yourself as, I'm taking charge of this, and go, okay, if I'm going to message, if I'm going to ask to connect with somebody, I need to write that personal message for them. But if I was doing that, we do all that for you, yeah, because it is a heavy admin task. That's what it is. It's admin. Any other questions? Because that was a really good one, Liz.
Susie?
Hi.
Is it a good approach to offer free services to employers to try you?
Yeah, I like that idea. I think that's a really nice idea. I think, yeah, it wouldn't be something, it's something that you could definitely do, but make sure you keep, you know, if you were doing that, I would suggest that you have a deadline to that, okay, because you want to keep some urgency to it, okay?
Yeah.
To make sure there's a deadline when they need to basically have that, a week later, 2 weeks later, I wouldn't have it more than that, okay?
Right.
You need to put urgency to it. So I like that idea. And you need to say, you know, it could be, maybe you need to say, you know, that free service or whatever you offer, you know, give yourself, don't be too stupid, yeah? So I'll give you an example, okay? What I mean by don't be too stupid, I know that you're not stupid, but you don't want to give away everything, yeah? You just want to be able to give something away, and that something can't, you know, it can't go on for weeks and weeks and weeks. There needs to be a deadline to it, yeah? Does that make sense?
Right.
Wait,
Okay.
Definitely option, but make sure you put, make it urgent. Like if you're interested, you must reply in the next 7 days.
All right.
Okay?
I'm okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, no, thank you for the question. Any other questions that we've got that I can help with? I know I'm speaking with Ian on Monday.
Hi, Sue. Yeah.
Hi.
I was wondering about, the trainings you see online. How useful do you think they generally are?
Sorry, I missed the start of that question. Say that again for me.
Yeah, I was wondering about, the online, like the free online training that sometimes you see in the careers advice.
Yeah, I do. I think it really depends on how high level that you are. Yeah. So I think you're quite high level. Yeah. So I don't really rate it. Okay. I think it's okay if you're, a student, or if you're going for a job. I'm going to get myself into trouble here, but I'll give you a very, my mum used to work in Tesco's, okay, in the UK. Yeah, nothing wrong with that at all. But what I'm trying to say is that there's, that there is many cashiers. Yeah, so your job is very specialised, and I would say that you probably, I wouldn't rate it for your level, if I'm honest. Okay, because they're all the same. It's like this carbon copy, yeah? The 17-year-old is the same as your one. Okay, they won't have the same experience, but they're very similar, yeah? But we can discuss it, on Monday, and relook at where you're looking at and stuff. So again, I think that we need to look at what market you're looking at, maybe.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah. So any other questions? It's been lovely that people ask me questions. By the way, I really like that. So I
have one more question, Sue.
Yeah,
so I know you said a graduate CV is a book you would recommend for as a something I need to read, especially going out into the job market. What other books for, I guess, interviewing or LinkedIn even books would you recommend or suggest?
I don't, it's a long time. It's a long time since I've looked at books for your level, right? I must admit, I've not seen your CV, okay? Send me your CV, which is a very, it could be absolutely fantastic. So I've made an assumption there, Liz. Okay. So you can send me that if you want. It's Susan Burke at live.co.uk, or just find me on LinkedIn, whichever is easiest. Okay, send me your resume and let me have a little look at it. Okay. It's a long time since but again, your university must have a careers department. Yeah, so that could be a good question for them, or look at Amazon. Okay, and see what's rated. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Do you know Randy Waskell?
I don't. I've not really looked at stuff for a while. I'll be very honest with you. Yeah. So I don't. I'm not going to pretend.
Okay. He's the guy that recommended that I, go to these attendees webinars that you're hosting. So I didn't know.
Oh, right. He must be on my LinkedIn. Apologies. That's very sweet.
Well, that's totally fine. I know you have a lot of people. I didn't know if he knew he had a connection with you in some way or.
Yeah, he must be. Yeah, he must. Yeah. So apologies. I'm thinking I thought he was somebody that was doing careers or something then. So I'm glad that's very sweet. So I hope you found them useful.
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate it.
Yeah, send me the CV. Let me have I know you'd say resume. So send me it over. Tell me the type of job that you're going for. Yeah, that's normally useful. Yeah, because I will see a CV or a job, but we need to see what it is that you're actually looking to go for. And then I can say to you, yeah, I would improve it, or no, I wouldn't. And I'll just be honest with you. Yeah, so I'm not gonna. Yeah,
honesty is the best policy.
Well, please don't get upset if I say do.
Oh, no.
It's just that I've never it's very rare. Okay, I'll be very honest, it's very rare. Yeah, but I say that to everybody. Yeah, and I say that to literally everyone. Yeah, so regardless. But I need to know, the CV needs to be aligned to that job. So I'm not just looking at the CV, I'm looking at the CV or the resume and going, does that fit that job? Yeah? That's how I would look at it.
Thank you.
Yeah, not a problem. So, Deborah, I feel like I'm putting you on the spot, but is there any questions that you may have? And you don't need to respond. You don't have to say anything if you don't want to.
No, I do have a question for you, Susan.
Okay.
You worked with me a few years ago when I was trying and looking at looking for work, struggling to get work. Obviously, at this time of year, in this current time, all my work got cancelled 2 months ago because I work in events and museums and design, and so all projects have got cancelled. There's no events happening. Everything's just ground to a halt. So I joined today basically to think: is there any new ways I could start? If there's any new insights I could get to how or ideas I could get to try and create new work.
You've got, oh my God, it's just awful. Right, Corona, and by the way, Deborah, I do remember you totally, and Marian as well. You have got a big problem in terms of, I don't mean to be pessimistic, but it's the economy. It's, you know, if you were in a different country, like New Zealand, then you'd be okay, because they're back on track. They've eradicated, they said, their virus there. Okay. But then you've got the problem is, and I know that you're willing to travel as well. I remember that you used to work in Dubai and stuff, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, but you've got the problem that at the moment that how do you even get from A to B? So you might need to look at countries that where the likes of Germany, for example.
Yeah.
You are going to have to look at countries that are a little bit further down the line than the likes of the UK. I mean, I'm going to say, Jesus Christ. Yeah. So I think that you're going to have to start targeting countries in some senses.
Yeah.
And working out, okay, so for example, Germany has got maybe 7,000 of people that have died from Corona, compared to the UK, which is 40,000. So what I'm trying to say to you is that you're going to have to start looking at countries that are, so the Germany's open, for example, they're open, and I think that you're going to have to start looking at different countries and then looking at how feasible, what's their policy? Would Germany let the UK in, or somebody from the UK? What's going to be the policy there? Yeah,
there's things to look at, and also I was going to say, in like giving free time, when the sort of shutdown started, I had a couple of companies want to work with me on a project, so they had to put a proposal together. So I worked on that for them for free for like 10 days, and that's out with the client at the moment. So whether that comes off, again, that's in the Middle East. If and when that happens, it'll be great because it'll be a few years' work. But at this moment in time, there's so much uncertainty. I just don't know when things are going to happen again.
Yeah, and I think that you're gonna have to do some soul searching yourself as well, Deborah. You're gonna have to say to yourself, am I willing to go to this, to certain countries if I don't feel that they're doing the right thing? Yeah.
Yeah, no.
I'm not trying to be all gloom and doom, but you might get, maybe that you're okay because you feel okay. The UK couldn't really, so you're okay. But do you see where I'm coming from? You might go, well, I don't, would I want to work there? Yeah,
no, I mean, I'm happy to go back to the Middle East again.
I don't even know about the Middle East in terms of their records, but if they're, I must admit, I haven't kept up to date. I've been keeping up to date with like the likes of Germany, the UK, and America and New Zealand and Australia, but I don't really know much about it. But all I was trying to say is that you're going to have to start thinking about, okay, what countries are open, and what countries am I willing to start looking at? And then you might want to think about, it depends. We could look at a LinkedIn campaign where we just, for you, and that we're looking at certain countries that you would A, happy go to, and B, that that could give you some traction. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, so that could be one avenue that we could look at. Yeah, so we run a LinkedIn campaign and we're targeting, you know, certain countries and, you know,
charging my phone. Can I borrow your phone?
yeah,
That's all right. I'll use the house phone.
along those lines. Yeah, that I would think that could be a smart move. But you need to do some soul searching. Yeah, who is it? You know, we've worked a lot in the Middle East, and so that could still be an option. But then you need to also be looking at, just because it's so crazy, the flights and what it is. If I do, is there a flight? Will there be a flight? And if I go there, what's the likelihood that I can return?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I'm not urgently needing work right at this very second. But you know, so I've got time to play with, which is good.
I know, but have you seen the WHO? What they've been saying on the WHO at the moment? So the WHO organisation is saying at this moment in time, they're saying we need to put, you know, we need to be very honest with people. There might not be a vaccine. We need to just live with it. Bloody hell! Have you seen that? It's on the Guardian.
No, I haven't seen that, but
yeah, it's actually on the BBC as well. I'm very nerdy about this stuff. Okay, so I don't know what the world's going to look like. The mind boggles, yeah. But at the moment, you know, how your industry could change.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, you know, but it's not going to happen straight away. But, you know, if you look at Twitter, for example, they've said to everybody that now you can work from home forever. Yeah, if that's what you want to do. So
yeah.
Things are changing, that it's changing the landscape of how things were.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, but the first thing is maybe looking at, okay, what countries are further along? And I wouldn't say the UK is, but you know.
No.
Oh my God, it's shocking. Oh, please God, nobody thinks in this group that they've done well. I'm kind of embarrassed to look at it.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, I have to say I've been through enough recessions and bad times in my career, because I'm in my mid-50s now. But so, and I get that we'll get through this at some stage, but obviously, like all recessions and things, you never know how long it's going to be, and that's the uncertainty that people find really hard to deal with.
Yeah, and it is so uncertain, and they have came out with this announcement, you know, that we might need to live with it, just like HIV. Yeah, and
yeah,
it's like it sends shivers down my whole house. Like, what? Yeah, because it's just the mind boggles. Yeah, the mind just boggles. Yeah, I just can't. So that's my point, is that people are still coming to terms with what's happened. So if people come into terms with what's happened, organisations are going to be also like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're in a country where that is not dealing with it properly. Sorry, Liz.
No, you're totally fine. I agree with that a lot.
I don't think the UK are dealing with it properly.
No, we're not. I've slagged off the UK at the beginning of it, so don't worry. We're both in the same boat. Then you've got to. I know that your country wants to pretend there isn't an issue, and you've got people that do and people that don't, but also you've also got reality. Yeah, you know, that we, you know, things are going to massively change now, because who really is going to want to go on a tourist holiday to the USA or to the UK? Sorry, you're not. If the UK has got, like, you know, the biggest steps in Europe, it's hardly a draw. Yeah, and the same with the USA, when you're thinking, I wonder what I'm going to catch because you're not testing anybody. Yeah, it hardly makes me want to go. Yeah, so the way things are going to change, yeah, there's very much question mark there. So I would say for you, Deborah, that you need to be thinking about, okay, you know, strategically, which countries have managed this crisis better, and they would start to be your target audience of who you want to think about.
Yeah, I mean, the answer to that probably is New Zealand, but that's too far away in my eyes. But anyway.
or if you're comfortable with the UK, yeah, you might be comfortable because you're there and you go, okay, I manage the risks in the UK, yeah, and so that you look there for the UK, but it's at a different, it's just at a different stage, yeah, until Boris has figured out that you can't open the economy, which he's done, without testing, then, you know, it's just going to rise. So there is going to be a second wave. Yeah, have you seen the pictures of at the moment in London, Deborah?
No, I'll be honest, I try and avoid the news because I just don't want to hear about it.
Yeah, I'm with you. So that's where I've gone, to be honest with you. It's just like, what are you doing? Yeah. So I think that it's so uncertain that these countries have got to start making more strategic decisions. Yeah. And then I think that everybody would feel better. Yeah, so you could look at, what about Germany? Would Germany not work, or is it, the language would be a difficulty? But it depends on what region of Germany that you're going. If you were going, for example, Berlin, yeah, they would be speaking English.
Well, actually, I do know companies in Germany, and my last contract was with a German event company, and everyone spoke English. I don't speak German, I will be honest, but yeah, no. Yeah,
so again, it could be you just need to be a little bit creative. So there, you know, I would say that they've handled it better than the UK. It's not too far away, problem with the language, but you could look at cities where, and it's probably cities like the likes of Berlin, where they would do things like that, or Hamburg, that's what you want anyway. So there's more likely that they would be speaking English. So that could be another option for you, yeah?
Yeah.
So I think you're going to need to go back to the drawing board and go, okay, yeah, don't do it today. Give yourself a lovely break, drink a bottle of wine, but you're going to need to think about it that strategically, because if people are like me and like you going, I don't want to look at it, or God, this is scary, what's happening? Well, that's the same with the companies. The mindset is not there yet.
No.
Yeah. Where Germany has started to open, by the way. Airbnbs are open, hotels are open, and what they're saying, because they're dealing with it better, is that, hey, if it goes over a certain rate of R or whatever they call it, then, you know, Germany's run very much similar to the US, where it's, you know, there's got states or federal states, and that they will then be, you know, that state will then, if infections start rising, it's those states would then have restrictions in that particular area.
Right.
Okay, so you will see in the news, right, what will happen. They'll say infections are rising in Germany, but actually it's what regions. Yeah, Germany's a big place, and they are putting things into place. Yeah. If they find that it's steadily climbing up in 7 days. And by the way, Merkel she studied quantum chemistry, so this woman is not Boris. Yeah, so she's recognised from the beginning that, you know, there's an issue when she's from a science background. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Does that help, Penny?
No, that's been useful. Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you so much. It's been lovely to have you on the call, and we'll be doing another one next week. Don't ask me what it is. I can never remember it. I should remember. But one session that I'm going to run is all about why you don't need LinkedIn Premium. Okay, so that could be a good one. And I will share some LinkedIn hacks where you can get around without paying for LinkedIn Premium. Okay, so I'm definitely going to run a session like that. So I've been putting things into place. So by all means, give me, you know, email me if you want any help. You've got my email, which is Susan Burke, all one word, BURKE @live.co.uk. But it's been lovely having you here. And maybe I see you next week.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Susan.
you.
Not a problem. You take care. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye just now.
Bye.
Bye.